In a world where left is up and right is apparently wrong, two souls make sense of it all, or at least have fun trying. Gear up, friends, for Chicken and the Dawg. Welcome to another episode of Chicken and the Dawg. I am the dog, and with me, as always, is the guy that is never afraid of someone that is normal in size, the chicken. What up, dog?
That's true. Normal or larger than expected, whatever. But yeah. Let's digress.
Yeah, we'll move on from there because you don't want to offend anyone and have certain group of people coming after you at any given time because that could
There you go.
be a little scary.
There you go.
Look, guys, we talked about on this last episode that we weren't going to go over on the results show. We weren't going to go over the top 25, the new AP poll that just came out, because the rankings, the official college football rankings, were about to come out, and they came out last night. But before we get into those, I do want to say that it's been a couple of days since we recorded, and so far, no one else has got fired as a head coach.
Still
Hold
time.
your breath. There's still time.
There's
I
still
don't see
time.
I don't see anyone getting fired between now and game times this week. But I think Monday we might be talking about somebody else getting fired because this thing is getting out of hand. It really is. But let's jump into these college football playoff rankings. The first 5 or 6, there's not really any surprise by any means. Number 1, Ohio State. Number 2, Indiana. Number 3, still an undefeated Texas A&M. Your top 3 schools are still undefeated. They should be 1, 2, and 3 for sure. Alabama comes in at number 4. They're 7-1. I think that's right as well. Alabama's playing lights out football right now. If you ask me, A&M, Bob, don't get mad at me when I say this, but I think Alabama, even at 7-1, is the best team in the SEC right now. That's what I believe, and that's coming from a Georgia fan that got beat by Alabama this year. I just think Alabama's playing really, really good football. DeBoer's got his team going. Right after Alabama, you start getting into some. Well, Alabama does have 1 loss, but you get Georgia at 1 loss. They're coming in at number 5. Ole Miss with 1 loss coming in at number 6. Then you got BYU at 8-0 at number 7. Now, look, I know some people that, well, BYU should be higher than Alabama, Georgia because they have no losses. Shut up. They don't play a schedule like Georgia and Alabama and Ole Miss do. They don't. They're in the mix. They're fine. Texas Tech is right behind them at number 8, and they are 8-1. Oregon is at number 9 at 7-1. Notre Dame is at number 10, so they're giving love to the Fighting Irish. And I don't think that that's probably far off. I know they have 2 losses. They are the highest ranked 2-loss team at 6-2. Then Texas is right behind them at 7-2. Oklahoma 7-2. Utah 7-2. Virginia is at number 14. Guys, listen to this. Your highest ranked ACC team is sitting at number 14. Now, for everybody that doesn't know how the playoffs work, they don't take the top 12 teams that's ranked here. There's certain parameters in there, right? You got to have the group of 4 or the power 4 conferences. Their conference champion gets in, regardless. So they're projecting that Virginia is going to be the conference championship for the ACC. So even though they're sitting at number 14, they're still in the playoffs, right? Then they got to give a group of 5 conference champion the spot. And right now, that is Memphis. And Memphis is sitting at actually
They're not ranked in the
they're not
25.
ranked.
Yep.
Yeah, they're not ranked in the top 25. But what they're saying is because there isn't a non-power 5 or non-power 4 or a group of 5 that's in there other than, and I think, guys, I think this is where things should, I don't know how much it changes. Notre Dame is in it, and they're an independent, so they don't count as that category. So, but I mean, they're in. I guess if they were going to be in a conference, it's going to be probably the Big Ten or maybe the ACC. Anyway, nothing really crazy, with the exception of, and you and I have talked about this. Georgia Tech at number 17, a one-loss Georgia Tech at number 17, to me seems a little goofy. I know, Chicken, you have some things you'd like to say about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, here's what bothers me about this is tell me that you don't like the ACC without telling me that you don't like the ACC, and that's what the CFP rankings episode 1 has done here. Virginia at 8-1. I'm going to skip over Louisville. Louisville is 7-1, but their one loss is to Virginia. Okay. Virginia's one loss is to NC State. Georgia Tech at 8-1. Their one loss is to NC State. But you don't see an ACC team until number 14 in the CFP. But what you do see is and I'm an SEC guy, a heavy load of SEC schools to include Texas. Smokey D, before you get, are you awake yet? Yeah, 9:00. You're up. Before you get too excited, the biggest defense for Texas loss record right now. Well, we lost to Ohio State. Yes, you did. And they are ranked number 1 in the CFP right now. But you also got beat by Florida. So let's not compare. Well, Virginia and Georgia Tech both lost to NC State. Well, you lost to Florida. So there goes the argument on that. It's out the window. And you have 2 losses, right? So that is gone. You also have Big 12 schools sitting ahead of the ACC. So if you want to get into that whole mix of, well, the SEC's tougher scheduling, all this, and the ACC can't match up. Well, okay, but realistically, does the ACC maybe match up with the Big 12? I think that it's comparable, right?
I agree.
You have a log jam between 14 and 18 of ACC schools. The only non-ACC school that slips in there is Vandy with two losses. And I'm okay with where Vanderbilt is ranked right now in the college football playoffs with 2 losses. But that puts you at Virginia at 14, Louisville at 15, skip over Vanderbilt. 17 is Georgia Tech. At 18 is Carson Beck and his mighty disappointment Hurricanes at another 6-2 record. I just, to me, it doesn't flow very well. I think you have to have just a little bit more disparity mixed up here in the top 15 than what we're seeing right now. But a lot of this begins to work itself out. Texas and Georgia go head-to-head next week. Ole Miss isn't going to be threatened this weekend. They play the Citadel, so whatever. But a lot of this will begin to shape up and play out. This is just the first iteration of this thing. But if I had to grade the committee right now, it'd be like, dude, this is obviously your very, very, very rough draft. Come back to me with something that can get a good grade.
Yeah, and, as it stands right now, if the playoffs were to happen today, they have Alabama, Ohio State, Texas A&M, and Indiana all receiving a first-round bye. Then they have Georgia playing Memphis, Oregon playing Texas Tech, Virginia playing Ole Miss, and Notre Dame playing BYU. That's where it sits today. Look, is this going to be where it's at in 4 more weeks? No, it's not. This thing is really, it's gonna play itself out pretty soon. Matter of fact, I think it even takes a lot more shape after this weekend. You're gonna see some stuff, and we're gonna get into those games in a minute. But Texas Tech's got to play BYU. As it stands right now, they are both in the playoffs. Now, what's crazy is Texas Tech has got 1 loss. If BYU BYU doesn't. if BYU delivers them their second loss, I would say adios Texas Tech. But if Texas Tech wins, man, then you've got 2 one-loss Big Tens. It's still dicey at that point, right?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, and I don't know how much it will begin to take more shape, yes, after this weekend. But again, next weekend, Georgia, Texas, that's going to have a lot of impact on this as well. Does Georgia have the ability to knock Texas out of the conversation, or does Texas have the ability to not only stay in the conversation, but to bring Georgia down a peg as to who's in and who's not, and keep that awkward little bubble alive of you're an SEC school, but you're kind of floating around to 2 losses. Again, we all know that 3 won't get it done. So what happens with that matchup next week? It's a lot of football left to be played, but it's going to shape up pretty quickly.
You're right, though. If Georgia is to come on top of that game, it completely eliminates Texas in the conversation for playoffs because it delivers them third loss. But if on the flip side, if Texas was to win that game in Athens, oh my God, man, now Georgia's sitting with a 2 loss. Same with Texas. Same with a lot of the other things. I mean, I still think at that point they're still on the inside, but they are at the bottom of it, man. I mean, I think a 2-loss SEC team is going to get in.
Yeah.
Is that Georgia?
But
Is that
I think that it keeps them on a bubble. It keeps you on that bubble of, well, don't get that 3rd loss. The upside that you could say for Texas in that discussion is that Texas has 1 conference loss in that scenario, whereas Georgia would have 2 conference losses. So there's debate there. Again, I think that with 2 losses, you get in as an SEC school. It just makes that bubble situation that much more entertaining.
It does. And look, man, like I said, we say this, we said this a couple of times, man, that this thing isn't over. It's not even close to being over because not only does Georgia have to play Texas, Georgia still has to play Georgia Tech at the end of the season. But hang on. Not only does Texas have to play Georgia, Texas has to play A&M at the end of the season too.
That's right.
And we see where A&M is at right now. So I don't think either one of these teams right now has a very clear path to as a shoe-in, man. There's still a lot of work to do.
Well, speaking of that, let's dive into the schedules this week and start looking at how this thing shakes up.
All right, so look, here's we'll open up with the Georgia game. Georgia's ranked number 5 Georgia, 7-1, 5-1 the SEC, has to go to Starkville, Mississippi to take on a really good 5-4, 1-4 in the SEC, Mississippi State Bulldogs. Georgia is favored by 7.5 points. Over and under is 57.5. I like Georgia in this game. I don't think we need to sleep on Mississippi State by any means. But I think after a tough road win, neutral site win for Georgia last week when we played Florida, I think Georgia bounced back and wins pretty big.
The biggest concern that I've got in this game for Georgia is that it's in Starkville. And I got to have more cowbell. That's going to be the theme that night. They're going to be ringing those things as loud as they can for as long as they can. So Georgia needs to have the ability, both defensively and offensively, to keep the ringing to a minimum. If they can go in and do that, then yeah, I think they come out on top. If they struggle at all, and you've not seen a lot of struggling Georgia moments this year, so I'm not saying, well, like they're known to do, Carson Beck. If they can keep the struggle to a minimum and just own this football game, then yeah, I'm with you. I think Georgia's good, and I like that 7.5 line.
A 4-5 Citadel has to go to Oxford, Mississippi to get a paycheck and take on a number 6, 8-1 Ole Miss. There's not even a spread on this game, as there shouldn't be. I think this will be a warm-up game for Ole Miss. I look for Trinidad to not play the entire game. Lane Kiffin's going to play his starters for a little bit, but he's going to pull back. I don't think he's going to blow them out 75-0. I don't think that'll be the case at all. Lane doesn't want to get any of his guys hurt. That's for sure.
Don't sleep on the Bulldogs of the Citadel. They came to Columbia, South Carolina several years ago and put a beat down on the Gamecocks. Oh, wait a minute. We were terrible that year. So the similarities stop right there before they even start. Ole Miss is going to walk the dog on the Citadel.
Oh, yeah. This next game could be interesting. Number 3, Texas A&M, 8-0, 5-0 in the SEC, has to go to Columbia, Missouri, take on a number 22 Mizzou, the Fighting Drinkowitz. And look, man, Missouri's 6-2. They're 2-2 in the SEC. They are a solid team. Eli Drinkowitz is a really, as much as we don't like him, as much as we think he's a goofy, evil little guy. He's a really, really good coach. He has really done really great things at this school. Look, man, A&M's only favored by 6.5 points. Mizzou is a hard environment. Watch out for this guy. I think A&M wins only because Missouri's quarterback is out, I believe, still. I think he's done for the season.
Yeah, I think he's done for the year. But again, watch out for this matchup. Eli Drinkowitz knows how to dial up an upset better than most. Right now, Missouri is ranked 22nd in the college football playoffs. This is a big game for both of these schools. We talked about it on our last show, how Missouri was on that bubble conversation of 3 losses last year, but they didn't really say much. They were the 4th team that was outside looking in that didn't chirp a whole lot about, well, we deserve to be in there too. I think that Eli was letting the other guys kind of argue it out and see how that played. 6-2 right now, going up against an undefeated A&M. If you're the Aggies, practice a lot, you're screaming, you're probably going to need it in Columbia, Missouri on Saturday.
There is no doubt about that, man. I mean, it's hard to keep winning in the SEC, and Missouri is no chump team at all. So A&M needs to really watch out.
And we say all the time that the SEC is not a league anymore where you're going to see someone go undefeated. A&M right now is walking that line, trying to do just that, but some big matchups ahead for the Aggies, and this one is certainly one of those.
I agree. A struggling, coachless 4-5 Auburn War Eagle Tigers has to take on Clark, number 16 Vanderbilt. They're 7-2, 3-2 in the SEC. Anchor down. Vandy is favored to win that game. They are playing in Nashville. Vandy's favored by 6.5, 45.5, over and under. Give me Vandy and give me Vandy big.
What a year. What a program that Clark Lee is building and developing at Vanderbilt. And I say that Vanderbilt, they were built and developed to a point under James Franklin many moons ago. Okay, but they're recapturing that glory and then some. Auburn has zero identity left. This is going to be anchored down. It's going to be a long day for the War Eagles.
I agree, man. But speaking of a coachless team, a unranked 5-3, 2-3 LSU, the Fighting Non-Kellys, is taking on a number 4, 7-1, 5-0 in the SEC, very good Alabama team. They are playing in Tuscaloosa. Alabama is favored by 9.5. I'm going to say it right now. The only shot LSU and Garrett Nussmeier has in this game, look, they just got a new AD. LSU did. If you want a chance to win this game, call them back. Bring them back. Bring back Coach O now.
I don't think that helps. I love Coach O. I think that should definitely be somebody that's on their list to call. He loves the LSU program. He lives and breathes, I think, the LSU program. But you have no hope at all of beating Alabama on Saturday. Not only is Brian Kelly out, not only is your athletic director out, because the governor decided that he wanted to have an opinion about the LSU football program. But your offensive coordinator is out. LSU has had just this weird little identity crisis all season long. They're 5-3. They don't have a losing record like some of the other schools that have been a disappointment this year, South Carolina. But there's nowhere near enough. You're 5-4 after Saturday. I'm sorry. I'm going to tell you that right now. You're going into Tuscaloosa. They're not coming to Baton Rouge. Get ready for your L shirts on the way home.
Let me ask you a question. What is the chance? Is there any kind of chance for an upset in this game?
You might be upset that they run out of beer at halftime. I don't know. If you're talking about LSU upsetting the Tide, I don't see a pathway for that to happen. Again, your offensive coordinator is gone. Your head coach is gone. Now, everybody might be silently excited about that. I've seen comments from players that they really didn't like Brian Kelly. So, okay, fine. But now the guy that was calling the plays for the guy that at the beginning of the season was a Heisman hopeful in Garrett Nussmeier, he's out too. So there's just too much. Yeah, there's just too much that has to change and would have to change very quickly for there to be hope for an upset. I don't even see hope for an upset.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But look, man, while we're on the trend of coachless teams, a 3-5 Florida, the absent Napiers, we can't even call them the Flobies anymore. Dang it. I'm going to miss that. I'm really going to miss it. Maybe he'll go somewhere else and we'll be able to call the Tulane Fighting Flobies. I don't know.
He'll be somewhere. He won't be a head coach next year, but he'll be somewhere doing something.
So at 3-5 Florida, 2-3 in the SEC, takes on a 3-5, 1-5 in the SEC Kentucky in Lexington, Kentucky. Florida is favored to win that game by 3.5 points. I'm going to tell you, after playing Florida last week, Georgia played Florida last week. Florida not only do they win this game, they win by 2 scores.
Wow.
I think so.
That is quite a call, my friend. Let's not forget that it was the Wildcats of Kentucky that sent Hugh Freeze packing after last week, after beating the Auburn Tigers. Now, that was the Auburn Tigers. It wasn't the Georgia Bulldogs going toe-to-toe with them for 4 quarters, but it was a conference win. No, I'm going to break off just a little bit. I do think that Florida wins this ball game. I don't know that it's going to be by 2 scores. Kentucky has had the ability to give certain teams fits this year. They've also had the ability to look really bad. They went toe-to-toe with Ole Miss at the beginning of the season, lost that one 30-23. So I think that it's going to be closer than 2 scores, but I do think the Gators come out on top.
I know that Kentucky delivered Auburn a firing of their head coach, Hugh Freeze. Does Florida return the favor to Kentucky?
That's just such a weird nut to crack for me. I don't know why he's still there now. I mean, in all honesty, if you started off the season with looking at no wins or losses for anybody, and you said, who's on the hottest seat in the SEC? Wouldn't it have had to have been Mark Stoops? Just based on last year's performance. I mean, Sam Pittman was in the conversation. I get it. I hate it, but I get it. But he had kind of a topsy-turvy last year. Mark Stoops' year last year stunk on ice. And then he's come into this season, and he's kind of repeating the play. Right? We're at 3-5, 1-5 in the conference. Do we care? I don't know. Basketball's starting up. They're kind of back to that Kentucky motif, and yet he's still there. He wasn't one of these names to go early. He was 2-5 going into the Auburn game last week, and you didn't hear any scuttlebutt around the Kentucky program that, yeah, if he loses this, he's out. We knew that if Auburn lost, or at least all the conversation is that if Auburn lost, that Hugh Freeze was going to be out. Hugh Freeze knew it. he canceled his golf game. As soon as the game was over, he's like, yeah, guys, cancel my tee time. I won't be there.
I got to go
So he
pack.
knew. Yeah, I got to go pack. I got boxes I got to pick up at Home Depot. Mark Stoops is still in Kentucky being Mark Stoops. So I don't know. If Florida comes in and just absolutely destroys them, maybe wins by 2 or 3 scores, maybe the conversation starts. But I don't see it as an automatic. Yeah, he's gone. He's gone. We had a meeting after the game on Saturday in the AD's office, and he's out as of Sunday morning. I don't see that happening, but we'll see.
It's one of life's mysteries.
It baffles the imagination. Keep in mind that there is a bourbon trail running through Kentucky, and I don't know how many decisions are made or postponed on that trail.
I don't know either, but it's possible. I didn't think about the trail. Look, let's jump in the top 25 because there's some okay games in there, I think. Number 19, Fighting Prophylactics are 6-2, taking on a 5-3 Northwestern. I hope the Fighting Prophylactics lose that game, my friend.
Well, you could argue that Northwestern really disrupted Penn State's season, took them where they were kind of battling back, see if they could come off the ropes and maybe throw a haymaker, and Northwestern dodged that bullet and then sent James Franklin packing. So they are upset capable. I certainly will never pick the currently number 19 ranked team in the country for anything. So go purple.
Yes. Southern Cal is favored by 14.5 points, but that's all I'm going to say about that.
That means nothing to me. All's fair in love, war, and absolute diabolical hate, which I have for you, number 19. So go Northwestern.
Look, we talked about this game a little bit when we were going through the playoffs bracket, right? So a 8-0, 5-0 in the Big 12. Number 7, BYU, takes on a number 8, 8-1, 5-1 in the Big 12, Texas Tech. They are playing in Lubbock, Texas. Texas Tech is favored to win that game. Listen to this, man, by 10.5 points. They are not showing any kind of love right now to an unranked BYU. I think BYU wins this game. I have picked against BYU every week. That stops today.
I think I stopped last week picking against the Fighting Brighams. I've got Rube. Listen, I want your Red Raiders to win this game. I really do. It's in Lubbock. Texas Tech has been an exciting team for me to watch since the Mike Leach days.
Yeah.
BYU's just playing with something weird this year. It's almost like Eli is sending some stuff over from Missouri, like, hey, try this little voodoo stew and see what happens on Saturday. Like, that's how they're coming out with some of these wins. They're better than they look. They're better than you expect them to be. Rube, I'm sorry, but I'm going with the Cougars.
Wow. So I mean, you call it an upset because Texas Tech is favored by 10.5 points. But in my eyes, I wouldn't say that's an upset if BYU beats them.
Yeah, I mean, from every standpoint, BYU is currently ranked number 7. Texas Tech is ranked number 8 in the AP. The discrepancy between it's at home and Texas Tech is favored. It's a pretty even matchup. Money-wise, Vegas-wise, yeah, it'd be an upset for BYU to win. But straight across the board, this is just going to be a battle of Big 12 heavyweights deciding who's going to represent and who's going to go home with their tail between their legs. It's almost a toss-up. Again, I hope I'm wrong, but I see BYU coming out on top.
Yeah. This next game, man, a number 1 Ohio State, 8-0, 5-0 in the Big Ten, takes on a 2-7, 0-6 in the Big Ten, Purdue. Ohio State is favored to win this game by 29.5. They are playing in West Lafayette, Indiana. I think Ohio State, Julian saying, is continuing to roll and has a great game.
Yeah, I want to pick this as my watch out ball game of the week because we all know that Ryan Day is thinking about the matchup that he has on November the 29th against the Michigan Wolverines. The struggle is this year, the Big Ten is really strong at the top. I said this year. Once again, this year, the Big Ten is really strong at the top. And then we get into a whole lot of fluff, meaning schools that play football too. Purdue, UCLA, and Rutgers are the 3 games on the schedule for Ohio State before arch rival Michigan. I would love to say that this is the game that they overlook, but I think it might be Rutgers is the game that Ohio State overlooks. They won't overlook UCLA because they've had kind of an up and down year. Are we successful? Are we not? Purdue is Purdue. Ohio State wins this one handily.
Yeah. My buddy T-Rod sent me, he's an Ohio State guy, lives in Ohio. He sent me this meme, and it was a picture of Ryan Day, and it said something like, if Ryan Day only won by 4 points against Rutgers, they would want him fired. Taking a shot at Kirby Smart only winning by 4 points against Florida last week. My response to him was very simple. I put Purdue ? Because in the past, Purdue has played Ohio State, and I think they beat them. They played, well, it was really close. And his only response and comeback was LOL. I had him at that point.
Right, right.
But I don't think that this year is going to be that year where Purdue can give this Ohio State team fits. I just don't think so.
I agree.
This next game I think is going to be very interesting. Could very well be. I mean, it could be a really good game, fun game to watch. A number 9, 7-1, 4-1 in the Big Ten. Oregon takes on a 6-2, 4-1 in the Big Ten. Number 20 Iowa. In Iowa, Oregon is favored to win that game by 6.5. I think Iowa wins this game, delivers Oregon their second loss, and it messes up the Big Ten chance of them getting 3 teams in the playoffs.
Wow. I did not see that coming. Let's just look real quick at how these 2 schools have played out this season. So Oregon with 1 loss, that was to Indiana. Iowa has 2 losses, one of which was to Iowa State, 16-13 in a rivalry game. Iowa State currently ranked number 16 in the country. And the second, at the time of contest, 16 in the country. The second was to then ranked 11, Indiana. Both of those games were close, 16-13 against Iowa State, 20-15 against Indiana. Indiana playing great football right now. This is going to be a dead heat matchup, but
it is.
I said it before. Oregon is quietly hanging around right now. Nobody wants to make a lot of noise about Oregon. I love what Iowa has done this year versus the season that they had last year, but I think Oregon hangs loss number 3 on the Hawkeyes.
Look, I don't want Oregon to lose. I'm not picking that game because I've got something against Oregon. I actually love their coach, man. He came from Georgia. Dan Lanning, he's just a fine, outstanding guy, man. And I think a top 5 coach of college football right now, man. I think he's that good. He's that elite. And he's proven himself for sure. I want Oregon to win this game, but just something tells me that this could be an upset.
Could be.
All right, here we go. A 3-6, 1-5 in the ACC takes on number 18, 6-2, 2-2 in the ACC. Miami's favored to win that game by 28.5. Beck has a great game. He only throws 6 interceptions, but still wins the game.
You worded it so differently than I would have. I think Miami wins this game. I was looking back at the season thus far for the Orange, and they don't have any quality wins. I'm sorry, Clemson fan, you're not a quality win this year. So you've got wins against UConn, Colgate, and Clemson. And those 3 were consecutive, and then you've gone on to paint the town red with nothing but losses, including last matchup to the North Carolina Tar Heels. You lost to Bill Belichick. I If Syracuse can find their way to Miami on Saturday, take that as a dub, because that's about as close as you're going to get. I don't like Carson Beck. I don't like the weirdness going on with that program and that offense right now. However, and I don't mean I don't like Carson Beck personally. I just don't think he's not the answer at the college level at quarterback. I tend to think Carson Beck's going to be really good in the NFL at the next step up.
Do too.
But he's just not the guy. He's not the guy that can really take a college program on his back and be the man and lead them to great heights. But you don't have to jump that high to clear Syracuse, and I think the Hurricanes win easy.
Yeah, I'm going to blow through this next game pretty fast. So, number 23, Washington, 6-2, 3-2 in the Big Ten, takes on a struggling 2-6, 0-5 in the Big Ten, Wisconsin. In Wisconsin, Washington's favored by 11.5 points. It's probably more than that. Wisconsin's just not playing good football this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Huskies have this hands down.
This game could be fun to watch. So a 5-3, 2-3 in the ACC, Wake Forest takes on the best team in the ACC right now, and number 14, 8-1, 5-0 in the ACC, Virginia. In Virginia, Virginia's favored by 6.5 points. I still think Virginia wins, but watch out.
This is actually my game to watch this week is Wake Forest and Virginia. Virginia is sitting on top of the ACC right now. They've had some close ones. They've had some games that they really had to dig deep to get out alive. Wake Forest is a tough, scrappy school. Watch out. This is my upset alert. I like Wake Forest in this ball game by a field goal.
Wow. Okay. I could go that way. I could go both ways on this. I was talking about football.
Just let's keep it. Yeah, let's keep it.
I just want to clarify that, make sure everybody understands. But I don't know. It could be interesting. This next game, it could be a good game as well. A 5-4, 2-3 in the ACC. California takes on a number 15, 7-1, 4-1 in the ACC. Louisville, and Louisville's favored by 20.5. I think that'll happen. I think Louisville will win this game and continue that. Is it Louisville? Is it Virginia? Is it Louisville? Is it Virginia in the ACC?
Yeah, I agree. Cal's playing good football this year, no doubt about it. But they're not going to be playing enough of that on Saturday in Louisville. I think the Cardinals win this one.
Yep. 2 more games, man. And this next one, could this be an upset? A 7-1 Navy senior chief takes on a 6-2 number 10 Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana. Notre Dame is favored by 25.5 points. Is there a chance Navy could upset Notre Dame and the Fighting Freemans?
In short, yes. There is a chance. This line that they've got in this game blows my mind. There's no way that I think that Notre Dame beats Navy by that much. You have one of the most dangerous elements in college football in my mind, which is a running quarterback who at this point in the year has 926 yards on the ground. 926 yards on the ground. Now, let me tell you something, folks. He's also got 138 carries to achieve that, meaning everybody knows he's coming and they still can't stop Horvath. I think that he has the opportunity to really show some weaknesses in the Fighting Irish. I don't know that the Irish don't still come out on top, but I definitely like Navy's chances to keep this ball game really close enough that they could end up coming out the mighty victors in South Bend on Saturday. I'm going to go with Notre Dame, but I'm going to go with Notre Dame by 1 score, not by 20.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, man, you ask any head coach, and I'll tell you right now, one of the best head coaches in college football is Kirby Smart. Ask him, when you build a defense that caters to a standard pro-style offense, which, look, Most college football teams, especially every team in the SEC, that's what their offense is designed. But when you have to go play a running offense, that triple option type style offense, and your defense is not prepared for that because you don't face that type of offense, you struggle, man. Georgia has in the past has struggled against Georgia Tech because of that threat. I remember we used to play Georgia Southern, and Georgia Southern used to run that triple option. And there was a couple years, man, we played them. They almost beat us in our house because it's hard to defend that triple option if you're not built to defend that. Notre Dame's defense is not built to defend that run style triple option type offense. This game could be very fun to watch.
Could be. Very fun and very close.
Oh, yeah. All right. That leaves us with one game left, my friend. And here it is, a noon kickoff if you're in Eastern time. If you're in Central time, it's 11. Let's just be honest. Let's make sure that's clear because I know Senior Chief likes to mess with us when it comes to that. But number 2, 9-0, 6-0 in the Big Ten, takes on another coachless 3-5, 0-5 in the Big Ten. At one point, they were ranked number 1 in the country. Number 10 in your hearts, Penn State. Indiana's favored to win that game by 15.5 points. They are playing in Pennsylvania. I think Mendoza is playing unbelievable football. This Indiana coach, he could get Coach of the Year for what he's doing at this program. I like Indiana, and I like them big.
Defer to my Uncle Kenny. He wrote me a letter last night. I'm gonna give it to you right now. Dear Chicken, slow week. One of the unfortunate unintended consequences of the modern football college era is the notion that a team who is not playoff bound will give up, like some scripted tragedy where the undercard fighters drop their gloves at halftime, the crowd thinning to the diehards nursing beers in the upper decks. It's a lazy myth, peddled in the glow of those prime-time graphics, the ones that slice seasons into binary fates, contenders or quitters, glory or garbage time. But walk the sideline on a November Saturday in a stadium thick with frost and folklore, and you'll hear the lie for what it is. A siren's call from the suits in Bristol, designed to keep the remote clicking and the ad dollars flowing. Truth is, football doesn't bend to narratives. It bends fate, and in the bending reveals the unyielding core that no algorithm can tally. Pennsylvania is cold this time of year. The cold comes early to State College, slanting off the Allegheny foothills and settling into the bones of a place that's been staring winter in the face longer than most folks remember. This is not a campus built on sunshine and palm trees. It's a cathedral of steel, coal dust, and old dreams forged in the dark seams of western Pennsylvania mines. Out of here. The game isn't just a pastime. It's a reckoning. And on Saturday, when Indiana rolls into Beaver Stadium, Penn State will answer for its season, not in statistics, but in spirit. It's been a year that feels unfinished, a bowl of soup left too long on the stove, warming, nourishing, but missing that one final pinch of something bold. The Nittany Lions were supposed to make a national statement, declared as contenders back in the sweet, naive heat of August. Instead, they've brawled with their identity, wrestling between offense and defense, youth and expectation, hope and transfer portal cynicism. Yet somehow, in the quiet hours before kickoff, the one truth that remains is pride. Pride in the ghost of a place that once lived off company scrip and iron rails. Pride in the fathers and grandfathers who came home from the mills too tired to speak, but would still sit in for one sacred afternoon every fall, Saturday, and let the Nittany Lions do their talking. This program, like the land it rises from, has weathered change and hardship, scandals, heartbreak, and now the uncertainty of a new chapter without its longtime leader. But the coal dust still clings to its history, and the fire still burns in its belly. Blue Bloods. Indiana comes in this week led by Coach de jure Curt Cignetti. A coach who wears intensity the way a welder wears a mask, protection and identity rolled into one. Cignetti has made his career in the backroads and backrooms of college football, stitching together rosters and cultures out of overlooked kids and unglamorous zip codes. His quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, is a reflection of that ethos, raw, gutsy, and unafraid to roll the dice. They don't have the blue blood history or the whiteout traditions. They don't have the 5 stars or the gleaming facilities. What they do have is a belief that this game, this moment, is their chance to steal something shiny from the giant. Cignetti and Mendoza won't arrive timid. They'll arrive grinning with resolve, daring the Lions to blink first. But at some point, the roar will come. Not from the scoreboard, but from the stands. Those rows of hats and jackets, faces worn and weathered by more than football. It's the roar of a people still linked by generations to minds that have long since closed, who carry something hard and undefinable in their marrow. The belief that pride doesn't need a ranking, it just needs a reason. So Saturday won't be about playoffs or press conferences. It'll be about a team playing for the love of the game and the legacy in their blood. Penn State knows they are no more trophies coming this season. They'll strap up anyway. Because in Western Pennsylvania, some things you don't quit, even when the world tells you it doesn't matter. You play, you hit, you fight, you protect the line, you honor the dust and the cold, and you win. Even if it's just so the old men at the diner on Sunday morning can stir their coffee and say, that's how we do it here. Sea change. Indiana is coming into this game as high as the program has ever been. And you know what your Uncle Kenny says about expectation. You know what your Uncle Kenny says about traveling on consecutive weeks. And what time does this game start? Noon. Have the Hoosiers ever been to State College, Pennsylvania as a runaway favorite to play for the Big Ten title? Are you sure the Nittany Lions are ready for the Indiana Hoosiers to come to State College and replace them? Yeah, I don't think so. The Indiana Hoosiers are walking directly into a buzzsaw.
Wow.
That's the way my uncle sees it right now.
And how do you see it, my friend?
I have to go Indiana on this one. Drew Aller is out. James Franklin is out. We talk so much about identity, and right now the identity of this Penn State program, though they will fight for all the glory and pride that they can muster, it will not be a blowout, I don't believe. But Fernando Mendoza and his 25 touchdown to 4 interception ratio is going to be too much for Penn State anywhere, including Beaver Stadium on Saturday.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, I think that this game for Indiana is kind of a statement win. And I know Penn State's down, but Penn State is still Penn State. You can't take their legacy. You can't take their talent and what they have on the field, because they are loaded with talent. You can't take that away from them. But Indiana needs to go into this game, man, and show the world of college football that they are for real. And I think this game isn't a big game for Penn State. I think it's a bigger game for Indiana to show the world who they really are. And that's why I think Mendoza lights them up. I don't think it's close. I think they win by 3 or 4 touchdowns. Mendoza has a game of his career and could potentially get himself an invite to New York.
I think that you're dead on with how you feel about this ball game. I think that there are players that play with a chip on their shoulder. I don't know that Mendoza does that necessarily. He might just be that good. Curt Cignetti coaches with a chip on his shoulder. He is not looking past Penn State. He is not looking at Penn State as a 3-5 team. He is looking at Penn State in Beaver Stadium in the cold of Pennsylvania and saying, that's one that we got to go get. We've got to go get that win, and get that win convincingly. I like the Hoosiers by 2 scores.
Yeah. Look, man, I'm sure when we have the recap show come Sunday, man, we're going to have a lot to talk about. There's some pretty good games that we believe could be some upsets out there. Um, it's going to be a fun weekend to watch college football. Look, man, follow us, like us, love us, share us. I say that every week. Our fan base is growing. We love it. We love the comments. Sorry, we haven't had a chance to do any dog barks lately, man. It's just we've just been have too much to talk about, man. So keep those comments coming. I promise we're going to get back to those. Look, Chicken, you got anything?
Jesus won, and I am all crowed out.
All right, guys. Love you. Deuces.